views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
We discuss all the issues, municipal, provincial, federal, and any issue of national importance. We will talk about On Point. Good morning and welcome to On Point. Yes, it is On Point, your number one political and current affairs talk show program, broadcasting to you live from here, the beautiful city of Brampton. We're in the TCN Network studios. You're not accustomed to having us here at this time of the morning, but it's Christmas Eve. And we feel like, individuals in the studio, yeah, you might be out doing your shopping later on this evening, but we still wanted to get you the big political news of the day. So, pardon us, next year we'll be here again. We'll resume in the evenings. But for this morning, we have waking up very early, Mr. Mario Russo. Mario, it's always good to have you.
Good morning, Jermaine. It is. I just wanted to give a big shout out to Faraz, who wins the Christmas shirt of the day award. Yeah, it's interesting coming out at this time. It's something that we're not accustomed to, but it is great to be here with you, gentlemen.
Faraz, it's a change, Faraz. Were you able to wake up early, get out in the morning?
It was a struggle.
It was a struggle. All right, so Christmas is upon us. As we say, it's New Year's Eve. Tomorrow is Christmas. Let me start off by just wishing all our friends, our families, our loved ones, all our viewers, those who watch us, those who comment on our program, wish you a very Merry Christmas, the blessings of the season, Happy Hanukkah to those who are celebrating, and to those who don't celebrate, just the blessings of the season. May you just have a wonderful time as we gear down towards the end of the year. Any greetings for you guys?
Same. I think you said it best. Merry Christmas to all. Season's greetings. Happy Hanukkah, and we can go on forever. But the beauty of Brampton in particular is the celebration of all cultures, all religions coming together and respecting everyone's cultures and everyone's customs.
Good. For us?
Yep, same for me. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Season's greetings to those who are not celebrating. This is the best time of the year for people to get together, spend time with family, loved ones, and at the same time, think of the homeless as well as anyone that you think you can help.
All right. So we're going to take a quick year in review, a quick look back at the big political stories throughout 2019. We'll take a look at who are some of the big winners and those who need to do better next time as we go throughout the year. So, Mario, I think the biggest story from a political talk show for this year has to be the last general election. Yeah. We went into an election. The Liberals had a clear majority. Came out of that with a minority government still in power. Your take on that big activity that happened this year?
Well, we saw certain aspects that there were undertones, but I think the consensus or the aspects have come to the forefront. So specifically, the somewhat or the actual divide between Alberta and the West and the East, and then the 905 416 component, Quebec. This is something that has come to the forefront. I think this government has to take it very serious. They have to address it and understand that these undertones can rise up and become serious issues if they're not addressed. Yeah. So that's one thing that I took from it. I was very surprised, not with the results, but with the numbers. Okay. How strong the numbers were in the GTA for the Liberals, and how strong the numbers were in the West for the
For the
Conservatives, and also the rise of in Quebec with the Bloc.
Bloc
So
Québécois.
that's something that that many seats that and one thing that again probably came to should come to the forefront is election reform, but that I guess went silent in this election. But election reform is something to be strongly considered.
Yep. Yep. First.
Yeah. I think just on Mario's last point, election reform is something that should be strongly considered because in this election, the Conservatives did get majority of the votes, but didn't end up winning most of the seats. And it was really interesting to see that Bramptonians were able to bring back pretty much the same seats and the same MPs back again with even a bigger mandate. So I think the pressure's on them, especially specifically for Brampton, to perform really, really well, be more available, be more adaptive to the needs of the community. Otherwise, right now, we're still in a minority government situation. We could have an election sooner than later. So the stakes are pretty high for the Brampton MPs right now.
Absolutely. I think the results have to be shown in this term. We need to see results. We've heard a lot of good things. I think you're going to hit a few, Jermaine, but the results of things coming to fruition, not just hearing the rhetoric of this is what's coming down the road.
Okay. All right. So another big story as well coming out of that election. The Conservatives have lost their leader. We are now in the search for a new leader for the Conservative Party. Ironically, the NDP that lost seats still hold on to their leader, and their leader seems to be much more stronger than ever. Your take on that, the loss of the Conservative leader as a big story for 2019.
Well, I think that was, we've spoken about this. I think Andrew Scheer, potentially, and this is just my own perspective, would be someone who could govern very well. I believe his biggest drawback was the campaigning component. There were errors made on the campaign. It's easier said than as an afterthought and in hindsight. But it's something that we were very much anticipating. It's going to be an interesting 2020 with the leadership. It was pushed from April to now November.
Well, that's actually the policy convention has been pushed back. So we expect the leadership convention to be much earlier,
right? But
before that,
exactly. So there's going to be things coming down the road. And to your point of the NDP, I'm very interested to see how that plays out as well. It's been very quiet, but I don't know that anybody that hasn't won is safe. And I think if they believe that they are, that's when things happen.
Funny. Faraz, I saw a picture of you this week handing out some newsletters with your daughter. Ironically, we had the first premier of the province earlier on last week unveiled a portrait. Normally there's a convention that when you have premiers, outgoing premiers, you put a life-size portrait of them at Queen's Park. Now, for the first time in over 100+ years of Queen's Park, the portrait of a female was unveiled, Kathleen Wynne. Talk to young girls like your daughter and others, Faraz, about how significant that is that we have the first portrait of a female premier in Ontario being unveiled.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of things. The thing that worked in my favor was that school was off and they were pretty much at home. So I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" She's like, "I'm so bored." And I said, "Come and help me do some flyer distribution." And it was interesting. We only went to a street that's behind my house, and her friends live on that street.
Okay.
So as soon as she got to that street, she's like, "Oh, this person lives here. This person lives there."
That's a good
campaign. Yes, it almost became like she started to put homes on the radar for me. Like, "Oh, this friend lives here," and then I started to encourage her to go ring the bell and see if the friend's home, say hello. And even though she's only 9, and it started to build in my mind, it was sort of it was the push for her to be more available, to be able to think fast, and if she rings the doorbell, someone's going to answer, and what is she going to say? And I think that's the most important thing. And once we were done, we didn't do a lot of homes. There was about 50 or so homes. She wanted to do more. And it was something, and the other good thing for us, the weather was really good yesterday. We could walk around with just a light jacket on. But the concept was that more and more of youngsters try to stay away from political life. And if we start to put sow the seed in them now, where it's not always about the need to be a politician, it's more about the need to get involved in the community, be more engaged, and that needs to start from home at a younger age so that we can start to make a meaningful difference.
We're going to hold it there, Faraz, and when you come back, we pick up the second part of the question about the unveiling of the portrait for the first female premier. We'll take a break. This is On Point. Stay with us. When we come back, who are the big winners and the ones who did not do so well for 2019? This is On Point. We'll be right back.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back to On Point, your political and current affairs talk show program. Not accustomed to broadcasting at this early in the morning, but we are here. We are bringing to you the year in review, looking at the winners and those who did not do so well in 2019, as well as we'll get to some of the expectations for 2020. Faraz, when we leave, you were talking about the role of having training youngsters, but as well as what the unveiling of the first female premier portrait in this province in over 100-year history could say to young people. How significant was it that Kathleen Wayne's portrait was unveiled a few weeks ago in this province at Queen's Park?
I think this itself was a winning moment for 2019. This really sets the precedent for more female leaders to come forward, especially the youngsters who would like to get involved in public life or social life, but always lack the role models. So it's really good to see that we've started to see that change, and that change has taken place at Queen's Park. That change also started to take place at City Hall. So this is really a closure on the election of Premier when she came to power.
Okay.
I just wanted to add, I really enjoyed seeing the diminishing of partisan politics come into play here. The Premier Doug Ford and the Conservatives, typically this takes years for this to occur. So for it to happen while Kathleen Wynne is still a sitting MPP, it speaks well to the fact of this is bigger than partisan politics. This is about giving people recognition, respecting the seat of the premier, and understanding that there are young girls and young children that look up to seeing positive role models that they can specifically feel like they can follow and feel like they can step into those footsteps or follow those footsteps as well.
Yep, and she did mention that that she wanted that the portrait to be an example to young ladies, young girls, women generally, who are in politics, or who can look at this to see themselves represented. Over 100 years, it's always been male who are on that wall, and it's good to see that bond broken. And here in Brampton as well, we have some MPPs at City Hall. Let's talk about them for a minute and their role. I think the most one of the active ones we have there as well is a female, Sarah Singh. She was appointed the deputy leader for the NDP. What kind of year has she had, Mario? What kind of year has Sarah Singh had as an MPP at Queen's Park?
I would give Sarah Singh the strongest mandate or the strongest thumbs up for the opposition. I think I think she's still new, respectfully, to politics, but I think her education and her willingness to be involved in the community is her strength. I see her at a lot of social functions. I see her ask several questions at Queen's Park. I mean, respectfully, she's been given the deputy leader position, so she's done very well. And back to the point of seeing young women move up in politics, I think she's a role model to follow. So kudos to her. Faraz?
Yeah, and if you look at her profile, she's the one who actually got involved with social engagement at a young age, and effectively prepared herself to take on this position, as well as end up being the deputy leader. So she's definitely a good role model to look up to.
So at Queen's Park as well, I mean, I think one of the top performers that we have from Brampton is Pragmeet Sakaria. Being appointed to the cabinet, Minister of Red Tape Reduction and Small Business. Faraz, your impression of, he should have joined us, by the way, but he's stuck in a meeting. He cannot join us until a bit later. Maybe we'll be off air when he gets out of that meeting. But for us, I believe that, he has done well as one of the top performers coming out of Brampton. Your view of him?
Yeah, I've had I was at an event with him this past weekend, and I also I'm going to repeat what I said at the event. Like, he's done pretty well to connect with the constituents. And the good thing that I had actually had a personal experience with him on is that he was able to connect us on a certain issue that we were addressing at the provincial legislation. And it wasn't just him connecting us. He actually made the effort of following up to understand if the issue was resolved, or if we were able to come out of that meeting with what we would have liked to see. So I think that was a really good indication. And he's also a young guy who's in a ministerial portfolio. He's representing Brampton, a very diverse area. And at the same time, for him to be able to connect and follow up, it really sends a really good message.
Yeah.
So just to jump on that before Mario come in. I think for us is referring to the issue at the Peel District School Board. We have the issue of dealing with some racism issues there, and Pragmeet Sakaria and Amar Jones Sidhu was one of those who jumped in, kind of organized some meetings, get us audience with the minister. He himself attended those meetings, followed up, and helped with pushing that issue. So that's one of the good things that Faraz was mentioning there. Your impression, Mario, of the performance of Pragmeet?
Well, I think, number one, as a small business owner, it's great to see a representative at Queen's Park be given that that type of role. Firstly, he is the only minister that we have in Brampton at both the federal and the provincial level. So that is significant. That is that is recognition to not only to himself but to Brampton. So that's something that's very important, and he has been very active and very good at following up, and in particular speaking up for small business. So that's something that's impressive to me. I think obviously my hometown, if you will, MPP Amarjit Sandhu has done great things of being very engaged, very active in the community as well. I think we are blessed with some good representation. I just want, and I want everyone to really reach out or try in 2020 to really start getting away from the partisan politics and really starting to represent us as Bramptonians. And I think we're starting to see some good signs coming forward.
So 2 MPPs haven't been mentioned. We have one in Brampton East, one in Brampton North. Have not been so very active. We think. Do we want to see more from them for us in 2018? Have we seen, or is it the community have been missing what they have been doing? But they seem to have been very quiet, very silent. We haven't seen much out of those 2 MPPs.
Yes, we need to see more of them.
Short and sweet. Short and sweet.
You leaving it there?
And I also think, I mean, from my perspective, is the fact that I'm personally more engaged in the central and the west part of the city. And that's something that when you're more active in those communities, you see more of the representatives. But the more the better.
Well, the issues, though, on the issues, have the MPPs that we have in Brampton delivered on the issues? Healthcare is a provincial responsibility. Brampton continues to have a significant and a serious overcrowding issue with our healthcare. Transit is another issue. Well, they have delivered on the planning process for all the 2 day go in terms of laying the infrastructure product for that. But we haven't gotten any further commitments to release to our LRT project. How have the MPPs performed, Faraz, or you want to think, on delivering on the issues of importance to Bramptonians?
I think that's what the point that Mario was making. We may have to get away from partisan politics just to get things done in Brampton. It's been very difficult to get things done in Brampton because of a certain glass wall that's been placed on top of the city to get what the city may want to do. And I think this is the time where one or two of the MPPs really need to shine and represent the city and change that message around that certain glass wall of getting things done, or the relationship between the city and the province. And that's where it's more about not saving your political job, but it's also representing the constituents. So it's a difficult act, but it needs to be performed rather quickly.
And in particular for the Conservative MPPs, it's a 4-year mandate that I take it from, again, using a business mind or even a planning stage. They've done well to advocate and get the planning stages done. Years 3 and 4 will be looking at results. And I think that's important for everyone to understand, is that we need to see some solid results and some something actually occurring, some shovels in the ground. That's important to see.
Yep, for sure. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the big winners and those who didn't do so well right here at home at Brampton City Hall. We take a look at the big stories of 2019 coming out of City Hall. This is On Point. Stay with us. Welcome back to On Point, your political and current affairs talk show program. Yes, it is Tuesday morning. You haven't spent all your day in bed. You haven't missed the entire day. Normally, we are with you at 4 p.m. But after all, it's Christmas Eve, and there are some of us who want to go and get some shopping done. So we really appreciate that you are joining us at 10 a.m. in the morning to catch up on the political news of the year. Let's take a quick look at the Brampton City Hall to see what happened in 2018. We have here the winter the winter edition of the Mayor's Report Card to see what happened. Mario, what's the biggest story for you, or the biggest achievement that you can point to for the city of Brampton in 2019?
Well, I'm going to use one of the ones that I believe the councillors and the mayor is going to speak to is the zero tax increase from the perspective of Brampton. I think there's pros and cons to that. Hopefully, obviously, as a taxpayer, it's a pro. You don't want to be paying more. It's just going to be a struggle to keep up with infrastructure and everything else without some type of increase or miscellaneous increase. But that's good news, and we see how that plays out. And I think from speaking with Faraz and yourself and looking at the flyer and just a reflection over the last little while, I think the number one aspect is the recreation component. Cricket has been brought to the forefront. A lot of sports have been brought to the forefront, healthy living, but also I think then that all blends into public engagement. I will give the mayor and council a high marks in public engagement and recognizing community service, different groups within the borders of Brampton and giving them their props. So that's something that I think is probably the highest on their, on not the naughty list, but on the good list.
Whereas the biggest achievement for Brampton Council this year in 2019, what would you consider to be their biggest achievement?
Yeah, I think Mario summed it up pretty well. On the tax front, I think also the recreational front. Like if you look at this newsletter, chunk of this is recreational, and being the president of the Brampton Cricket League, it definitely helps when the city is more aligned to invest in infrastructure that allows people to come and participate in recreational activities. And it's not only cricket; the city's invested in outdoor ice rinks as well as basketball courts. So it sort of ties into the fact
we're having our first half marathon, right?
Yeah, half marathon, right? And I know some people have actually started to prepare for it now, right? So it ties into the fact that healthy living sort of reduces the stress on hospital visits as well as creates a healthy community. Yeah. So these are all positive initiatives. And one other important thing I also want to send a shout out on is the community engagement piece. There's the connection with various communities or the different mosaic of cultures in Brampton has been very well utilized, as well as the adaptability of our city council and the mayor, be it the GO train issue, be it the issue of crime and the need for cameras on the 410. It's been very well promoted and pretty well represented for the people living in the city.
Yeah, we have also had some investment in transit. We actually got some buses. Was it $10 million toward getting some electric buses that would kind of reduce emissions on the road. So that was another significant achievement for this council this year. A few other things that has not gone so well for our council. We haven't yet gotten some commitments as it relates to really getting that LRT down to downtown Brampton. No further comments. Monies have been attributed to that. One of the promises that we're looking forward to is a center for cybersecurity, which is not yet fulfilled. So, some of the future expectations, Mario. What are some of those other things that we want to see council champion and really bring to reality?
Well, I think full circle. Speaking to the last segment, it's similar. I think all tiers of government need to have things actually occurring. We can't continuously say this is what we're going to have. So to the point of cybersecurity, we need to see something actually being built. We have seen some good stuff with Ryerson and I believe RBC and whomever else has brought forward some, even the federal government bringing forward some dollars, but we need to see that actually come, we need to see cranes in the air. And that's the reality, is that's what starts to spur a confidence from the private sector that this is what's really happening. In terms of LRT, I'm extremely frustrated as a downtown business owner on LRT for that, because until we actually have a collaboration of understanding this is what's going to happen and this is where we're going to get the dollars, right now this is still a fallacy. We need to actually have solid commitments and understand the plans. So, that's what we need to have, is that we need to start seeing shovels in the ground.
Faraz, we're going to jump on another issue here. We got a new police chief this year as well. Crime is a big concern in Brampton. You mentioned earlier the call for CCTV cameras on our highways and stuff like that. So crime has been going out of hand. We got a new police chief. How significant was that, or will that be towards making Brampton a safer community?
Yeah, I think it's so a new person coming in would definitely try to improve things, because he's coming in as an outsider who's going to try to do his best to represent his brand and his people, which are the police officers. And I think the crime prevention is not only a police responsibility; it's an individual responsibility of residents too, right? To report suspicious activity, to let the police investigate. So there's a lot we can do as residents to make the city a safer place, and helping the police with some of the resources by living on that street would definitely make a bit of a difference. However, as we've heard many times through our mayor and council, crime doesn't have an area code, and sometimes people from other cities or other regions would spill into Brampton, and I think that's where we as residents need to do more due diligence in order to make sure that we live in a very safe community.
Yeah,
Mario, 55 new police officers, very engaged police chief. Is that enough?
I don't think it's enough, but I do give Chief Nish an A+ on community engagement.
Yeah.
I think we're blessed with having Chief Nish and also Bill Boyes from the fire department, two great advocates for the community that understand that it's not just policing fire, actually putting out a fire, it's being engaged in the community. And we are blessed with two of the best. So looking forward, dollars need to come into the city. One of the things that I will put on the forefront watching regional council is that there is a rift that is occurring. I think it's been there for forever. And that's going to show itself in 2020, if not brought to
Dealt with.
yeah, well, it has to be dealt with, and I think that's back to what Faraz had said, is that this issue of dollars and cents starts becoming a political game of I want it in my community, I want it here, I want it there. That being said, nobody wants to pay for it, but everyone needs it. So that's going to be something that we'll be keeping our eyes on in 2020.
And that's why I think that having external investment in Brampton is really important. We've seen the council and the mayor traveling abroad, trying to attract more investment in the city, and having investment from a business that would like to set up shop in Brampton is really important, because that reduces the pressure on taxpayers as well as the city coffers. When you have it also creates jobs. So having to look at that as a source of funding to support some of these is really an important aspect to look at.
So talking about the winners and the losers, who are the best performing councillor in Brampton in 2019? Who have been outstanding that we can look to say, we identified Prab Meet from the Prab Meet Zakaria as a minister and Sarah Singh at the provincial level. Who at the municipality can we look at to say, this councillor has done well, has performed, has been outstanding?
You're putting us on the hot seat, and we're going to be taking the fifth on that. I'm gonna. Jeff Bowman is always someone that I think does so much for the community and does it quietly. He's not someone that seeks the glory. I don't think he goes around saying I did this, I did that. So I'll give Jeff Bowman an A+ as well. My local politicians, if you will, Mike Paleshi does a lot for the community as well, advocating both at the city and regional level. So I'll leave it at that. I think Mayor Brown always does a great job of trying to bring recognition to the city and bringing council together. I think he has a tough job on his hand doing that because there's a lot of personalities and there's a lot of people trying to advocate for their areas. But that being said, I'll give it to Jeff and Mike. Charmaine is a good friend, and I think does well on bringing when she believes in something, she will go out and champion it.
Faraz, for you, who are the big winners down at City Hall? Who have done well for 2019? We're almost upon the break.
Hey, it's a tough question, and we just have a few seconds left on the break, so maybe we'll answer this after the break.
All right, this is On Point, your political and current
That was a
affairs
political
talk show
answer.
program. We'll take a break. When we come back, we look at a few more issues that made it in 2019. Stay with us.
World famous spiritual astrologer and psychic Pandit Sai is born to serve people. He's an expert on palmistry and horoscope. He can handle all problems and give Vedic solutions for business, job, love, marriage, husband and wife problems, children, personal, and many others, including depression. He also performs pujas to clear all sorts of obstacles. Call Pandit Sai and see changes in your life now. 647-766-1419. Located at 2895 Derry Road, East Mississauga, Airport Road and Derry.
So welcome back to On Point, your political and current affairs talk show program. This is our final program for 2019. The year is coming to a fast end. So no, we have one more program.
Are we doing one on?
Oh yeah, let's
New
see.
Year's?
Well, we'll see you again in 2020. But before the break, Faraz, we were asking you for your political winners, those who have done extremely well and not so
He
well.
dodged it.
No, you have a lot of time. For you, who are the winners at City Hall? Which councillor stood out for you at City Hall?
Listen, I think all of them are winners in the sense that they're representing us and they have a lot of pressure to represent the public. But I would like to call upon Councillor Herkirith, who had really good experience. He's tried to help the community, and he's also the guy who tries to do it at the down low, doesn't really post it up on his social media pages and makes a big deal out of it. And he's very likable, connects well. And also the good thing I noticed with him that he remembers things, right? And when you meet him, he'll, hey, what happened to that issue we talked about 6 months ago? So I think that's a good sign of an engaged public leader. And sort of the same applies to Councillor Jermaine, who's been very active in the community. And she's not really taken the BS on any of the policies or procedures or rules that she would like to bring in to as an improvement in the city, and whatever she's believed in, she's sort of stood with it because the feedback is coming from the constituents, and she's had to deflect the ball a number of times, be it the bylaws or certain other city protocols, but she's been actually working for the constituents, which is highly unusual sometimes to see. But these two really stand out for me.
Yeah, I wanted to echo Councillor Harkirat Singh as well. Again, being someone that's usually more centralized and to the west, you don't deal with the councillors on the east side as much. But Councillor Singh has been very active in the downtown. He's been, he actually believes in the, I guess the need for green because he walks the council very often. So but he is very active and he does listen. So that's well said. I think he's been one of the winners as well.
Okay. All right. So a few challenges have been at City Hall. We have a few controversies swirling around the city right now. One, we employed a new CAO, and we got rid of the last CAO, who ironically was from the Niagara Falls area. Went back to Niagara Falls to find a new CAO, and we realized that this one has been, is in a lot of controversy. There was an Integrity Commissioner's report that didn't put the COO in a good light. So it calls into question, for us as a person who works in the corporate arena, did Brampton make a mistake here in terms of sourcing the new CAO, bringing one to the city that is have so much controversy surrounding him? Now the councillors are breaking ranks to say, we didn't know this one, this and that. What happened? Did we make did the HR people make something go wrong here? What happened here?
These are the things that really bamboozle me sometimes. If this was a private company, none of this would have happened. Or if had it happened, we would have found a solution very quickly, and sort of put a Band-Aid on it and moved on. But it's so weird to see that at the city where we'd actually hired an external firm to complete a total due diligence on this position, as well as do the background check. And these are not only these at this position, at the CAO position, the background checks are not just restricted to criminal background checks. It should be restricted to references as well as what took place in the other roles, as well as talking to peers. And it's really there's something that we just don't know just yet around the placement of this role and the dynamics associated to this that we may need to find a little bit more on and investigate this a little bit more. But it just, as a third party standing outside, thinking how and trying to connect the hiring at the city to how hiring takes place in the public, in the private sector, I am not able to connect the dots and understand what's gone missing. And in my understanding of this position is that all councillor as well as the mayor knew of this, and this was a unanimous placement, and I'm just not able to connect as to how the lack of due diligence on this position, as well as the unanimous voting on this position, and now we have these news items that really put a bad light on this position.
Controversy, Mario.
Well, I think that's exactly it. I think when it's a negative news story, it does put a black eye on the community. That being said, I think that's fundamentally the problem when council, and they need to do it, but when a lot of this is done in camera, you don't see the process, and nor do you expect to see every single aspect of the process. The problem, though, is the fact that, to Faraz's point, this is an HR/communications dropping of the ball, is that if you know that there's going to be an issue, bring it up before. Stand behind your CAO, speak to the actual points, as opposed to it being quiet for so long and then being reported, and it becomes a snowball of negativity. So if there is no issue there, then bring it up. Let people know about it and say, well, you know what? We believe in the attributes of this CAO. I did have the opportunity to meet him. He seems like a well-spoken and an intelligent person. So, I mean, I don't think this is the end all, but this should have been dealt with a lot differently. The private sector would have gotten ahead of this and said, you know what? This is what he has been involved in. It's irrelevant. Nothing has been proven, blah, blah, blah. We stand behind him. At least then we can actually say, let's go forward.
But here's the challenge for council, though. The challenge for council is that we have two councillors who have publicly stated that they weren't made aware of any of these challenges surrounding the CAO. And therefore, how do you inspire confidence in a city, you know, when you as a councillor voted to say, we want to hire this person, but yet still, you know, you have no knowledge of the background information and all that, you know, all kind of issues have been raised about the CEO. You know, do they move forward? Do they get rid of the CEO like they did the first one, find a new CEO? How do you govern a city as big as ours? All the challenges that we have, you know, with all this cloud surrounding your top bureaucrat, the guy who runs your corporation. So, you know, this is something that I think in 2019, the council needs to get ahead of you know, need to decide that, you know what, we can't deal with this controversy. Let us move on. Let us go separate ways.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation.
Well, I mean, I think the position of CAO has been a controversy now, and unfortunately in Brampton for over a decade. We've paid out more in salaries. We could have hired an entire city staff what we've paid on CAOs, because what ends up happening is something comes up and there's these contracts that are given to these individuals that are insane. They are literally insane. The dollars of if they leave, in particular, I'm speaking for the former CAO, was ridiculous. So I don't know what penalty clauses and so forth, and I don't even want to go there. Truth be told, I think let's get to the actual, and to your point, let's try and govern the city, but they do need to get ahead of this story.
Yeah. And I think, Jermaine, it's important to know that the CAO is the most senior position in the city, right? And just tie that up to if this was a CEO of a publicly listed company, what would have happened?
Boeing,
right? So exactly, you've heard the news about Boeing and what's happening there, and it's also interesting to see that I was reading somewhere, and maybe I need to do a bit more research, but the last budget this CEO managed was $10 million.
No, it was a bit more than that. It was about 300. The budget for the Niagara is about 300 million.
Yeah, and now we're almost
800 million, something.
2.5 times that budget, and again, this is the face of the administrative department in the city, and the council and the mayor needs to either clarify and address this so that the speculations are put to bed.
Yeah. One last thing we want to touch on, we also there has been a few integrity commissioners investigation in the city of Brampton. Over throughout this year, we are closing the year with a major one. One councillor has been accused of some wrongdoings on a foreign trip. But let's take a cue from what happened in Ottawa. In Ottawa, there was a councillor who was accused of having done some sexual assault or some sexual misbehavior, and that councillor took a leave of absence and was actually asking his colleagues to vote to give him an extended leave of absence, claiming that he had a medical issue and needed to be away. The municipal act states that if you're absent for more than 3 consecutive council meetings, then automatically your seat is declared vacant, unless the councillors vote to grant an approval for you to get that leave. So we have that investigation going on in the city of Brampton. We are not able to talk about to the innocence or to the guilt of the party, but some allegations have been out there. We have seen information that has been lacking, not a lot of information coming out of the city. Again, you talk about having transparency and being clear at the city. What do we do in the situation? Is council going to vote to grant a leave of absence? Will the councillor be losing his seat, or do the councillor carry on? Do we take? What does Ottawa have to teach us? Your view on that?
Well, this is basically governing at its finest. And to your point of you don't want to get into the legalities of it, but you want to get into the actual governing of the municipality and of the region. So specifically last week, understanding the nuances we have in the city of Brampton and regional representation, we actually vote in an additional regional representative. But then what we also did at the city is council chose to have an alternate. Yeah. So at last regional meeting, the alternate, which is Harkirat Singh, Councillor Harkirat Singh, was representing
Wards 9 and 10. Okay.
Yeah, the city at the regional level. So this is going to go into the an extended leave of absence, maybe something that will be forthcoming, but we don't know. This is the details that the council has to address, and it will likely be addressed early in January, I believe. But we need to get into understanding that these are civil matters or individual matters. How do we continue to run a city? And those are, Municipal Act will come into play, and how these will be decisions that council will have to make.
So just to be clear on that, from as you mentioned, from a governance point of view, the Municipal Act states if a councillor is away for more than 3 months, then automatically their seats become vacant. But then this council needs to kind of give some clarity around this issue. What exactly we're going to do? I think you mentioned, for example, that the alternate councillor was at the region. I don't think that was communicated to the public. So there needs to be some kind of clarity. The mayor, the members of council need to come together and provide clear statements to the public, to the residents of Brampton, so that we know exactly what is being done. For example, the city of Ottawa, when this happened to them, they put out a statement to say, this person is going to be responsible, so the residents know exactly who to go to. So I'm thinking that, we need to see a better management or handling of this issue, more communication from City Hall to talk to the residents of Brampton as to exactly what needs to be done here. Right? For us, leave it at that?
Yes. Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty good. It's important to follow what's in the bylaws, what's in the rule book, right? So I always encourage city politics to mirror some of the stuff that takes place in the private sector. There's rules, there's HR procedures to follow, and I would encourage them to start to follow them rather quickly, as well as communicate what the next steps are.
All right, so that's a wrap for us and On Point for 2019. We will see you again in 7 short days. We wish you all the best for the holiday season. As we said earlier, we look forward. We have some exciting things coming up in 2020. We'll talk to you more about that. You will hear a lot more from On Point. We'll bring you the stories of the day. Thanks for watching. Have a great holidays.
Merry Christmas.